Her family sold her into marriage. The millionaire bought her freedom by claiming her as his. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The rain hammered against the tin roof as she stood behind the thin wooden door. Her breath caught somewhere between her ribs and her throat. She didn't need to open it. Every word from the cramped living room cut through the silence like a blade. Her father's voice, sharp, trembling with desperation, counted numbers she couldn't bear to hear. Her mother whispered back, frantic, terrified, urging him to lower his voice. But nothing drowned out the moment that split her world in half. She goes tonight, her father said. If he changes his mind now, we lose everything. Her mother's reply was quieter, but it pierced deeper. I'm scared, but we don't have a choice. This is the only way. The girl, Ivy, pressed a shaking hand over her mouth. They weren't talking about a debt. They weren't talking about a job. They were talking about her, and the man buying her wasn't even here. Instead, someone had delivered a black ring with a code engraved on the inside, as if she were nothing more than an object in transit. The messenger's footsteps echoed away, leaving the ring on their worn table like a mark of ownership. Ivy stared at it from the doorway, nausea twisting in her gut. No name, no family crest, no voice, just a number. And when she was dragged toward the porch, toward the waiting black car, another voice sliced through the storm. If they've sold you, the man said from the darkness, then allow me to buy you back the right way. Her mother flinched so hard the lantern's flame trembled. Ivy froze, her heart pounding against her ribs. A tall man stepped forward from beneath the trailing shadow of an umbrella, his coat soaked at the edges, rain dripping from dark hair, that framed eyes too sharp to belong to someone ordinary. Her father tried to stand taller. Who are you, the one actually qualified to negotiate? The stranger replied. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. The messenger who had brought the ring stiffened his hand, drifting toward something beneath his coat. Not a weapon, Ivy realized with growing dread, but a signal device. As if he were trained to extract people, not persuade them. The stranger didn't wait for permission. He walked straight past Ivy's father, tossed a sealed file onto the table, and said, "This is worth more than whatever he offered you." The messenger stepped forward to object, then stopped abruptly. His shoulders tensed. Even Ivy saw the blood drain from his face. He recognized the seal. Her father swallowed hard. What? What is that leverage? The man said evenly. Enough to make your original buyer reconsider every move he's made tonight. The messenger retreated without another word, as if the file itself had teeth. Ivy's father opened it only a glance before snapping it shut. Panic flickered in his eyes. Her mother reached for him, trembling. You can take her, he whispered hoarsely. Just take her and go. Her mother didn't look at Ivy. She didn't hug her, didn't say goodbye, just turned away as if severing the sight might soften the guilt. The stranger looked at Ivy next, really looked. Not like she was merchandise, not like he was comparing a price to a value. His gaze held something else. Something she didn't recognize but instinctively mistrusted. We leave now, he said softly. Why? Ivy croaked, her voice raw. Why do you want me? Because if you stay, he said, stepping close enough that his shadow engulfed hers, the man who first paid for you will return, and he will not tolerate losing what he believes he owns. Thunder cracked overhead. Ivy's pulse raced. Who is he? She asked. That the stranger murmured, eyes hardening, is something you'll learn later. He reached for her wrist gently but with purpose. She flinched. I'm not taking you by force, he said. You can walk away from me right now, but you won't survive the night if you do. Something in his tone, quiet, steady, final, made her breath hitch. He wasn't lying. He wasn't persuading her. He was warning her. The car's headlights glowed in the rain, waiting. Her father's voice broke behind her. Just go, Ivy. Please. That hurt more than anything. She lifted her chin, took one shaky step toward the stranger and whispered, Who are you? He held her gaze for a moment that felt like the edge of a precipice. The only person, he said, who wants you alive for reasons that have nothing to do with owning you. The wind howled, the storm raged, and Ivy stepped into the night beside the man who had just rewritten the fate she never asked for, without knowing whether she'd escaped danger or walked straight into a different kind of cage. The car door shut with a heavy thud behind her, sealing Ivy inside. A silence far too thick for comfort. The stranger slid behind the wheel without saying a word, wiping rain from his jaw with the back of his hand. His presence filled the small space, controlled, steady, but charged with something she couldn't name. The engine rumbled to life, pulling them away from the only home she'd ever known. Ivy clutched her damp sleeves. "Where are you taking me?" "Somewhere safer than here." His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, scanning the darkness behind them. "They'll come back for you. I don't intend to be here when they do." The road curved sharply as he accelerated. Ivy's stomach knotted. Who is they people you don't want to meet twice? That wasn't an answer. It was a threat disguised as truth. Ivy turned toward him fully, her voice unsteady. "You keep saying I'm in danger, but I didn't ask you to rescue me. You didn't have to." His grip on the wheel tightened. "They weren't rescuing you. They were acquiring you." She shivered. "You didn't answer my question. Why do you want me?" The stranger exhaled slowly, as if resisting a dozen things he wanted to say. "My name is Callan." Another pause. "And I'm not here to want anything from you. I'm here because you were already being watched, taken, prepared." His voice lowered. "And because I've been following the trail for a long time." Ivy's hands went cold. "You knew about me before tonight." "Yes." How, instead of answering, Callan reached into his coat and pulled out the black ring from her home. He placed it gently in her palm. The metal felt heavier than it had earlier. "That ring," he said, "is not a symbol of marriage. It's a tag, a marker, a coded identifier used by a network you should never have crossed paths with." Her breath caught. Why did he want me? "Who is he?" Callan shook his head. "Not tonight." The vagueness made her pulse spike with panic. She gripped the ring until its cold edges dug into her skin. "You expect me to follow you blindly because you're less terrifying than whoever bought me." Callan finally met her eyes. "I expect you to trust that staying alive matters more than the answers you want right now." She opened her mouth to argue, and then his phone buzzed. He tapped the screen once. A single message glowed, "Got her or not, if the asset is lost, terminate." Ivy's blood turned to ice. Callan's jaw tightened. He tucked the phone away and merged onto a wider road, accelerating. They didn't expect resistance tonight. Her voice shook. "Asset, terminate." That message was about me. "Yes," he said without flinching. Ivy pressed herself against the door as if distance could save her. "What do they want from me?" "They want you gone," Callan said. "That's all that matters. That doesn't make sense. I've never met these people." "You have," he said quietly. "You just don't remember." His words slammed into her like a physical blow. Ivy shook her head violently. No, I've never." The car slowed as Callan pulled off the main road into a dim industrial lane. Tall buildings loomed on either side. Ahead stood an unmarked metal gate. Ivy's pulse raced. "Where are we at transition point?" he said. "We need to change vehicles." He parked beside a nondescript black SUV already running. Ivy's panic spiked. He could hand her over right now. No one would know. Callan stepped out into the rain and opened her door. "Come on." She didn't move. "How do I know you're not one of them?" For the first time, Callan's expression softened just barely. "Because if I were you, wouldn't still be breathing." He extended a hand. Ivy stared at it, torn between fear and the instinct to run. Thunder rolled overhead. A chill wind rattled the fences. Finally, shakily, she placed her hand into his. Warm, firm, human. He guided her to the new car, and the gate behind them began to close automatically. Inside the SUV, Ivy noticed something as Callan adjusted the mirror, a faint mark on his wrist. A small branded scar, the same symbol etched inside the black ring. Her breath caught. "You have the same mark." Callan didn't answer. His silence screamed louder than words. "Are you like them?" she whispered. He shook his head slowly. "No. I walked away." "What does that mean?" "That you should forget you saw it," he said. "And that you trust that I'm the only one who isn't going to kill you." The rain drummed louder on the roof. Ivy stared at him, heart pounding. Then tell me the truth. Why were you following me? Callan studied the road ahead, the glow from passing streetlights slicing across his solemn profile. I've been looking for you, he finally said. For a long time. Ivy's stomach twisted. Why, he didn't look at her when he answered. Because you're not who you think you are. And neither is the man who came to buy you. The SUV sped into the night, the world behind them swallowed whole, and Ivy realized with a sinking certainty that whatever she'd stepped into wasn't a rescue. It was a chase she'd already been running from for years, without ever knowing why. The compound was silent in a way that made Ivy's skin crawl. The moment she stepped out of the SUV, tall concrete walls rose around them, smooth and windowless, lit only by a thin strip of security lights. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a bunker meant to keep something in or someone out. Callan keyed in a sequence on a metal panel. Doors slid open with a low hiss. Inside, he said, stepping aside. Ivy hesitated. Everything about this place felt wrong, like walking willingly into a cage. But turning back meant facing the people who wanted her dead. She swallowed hard and crossed the threshold. The doors sealed behind them with a sound far too final. Inside, the air was cool, sterile, too clean. A living room spread before them, but no one had lived here in a long time. Even the furniture looked untouched, arranged more like an exhibit than a home. Then she noticed the cameras, one in each corner, another in the hallway, all facing inward. She felt the breath leave her chest. Why are the cameras pointed at me? They're not, Callan said. They're pointed at everything that enters this house. That's not comforting. It's the truth. He walked toward a long table, picked up a folder and placed it in front of her. Read it. Ivy opened it with trembling hands. The first line made her heart skip. Protective agreement duration 90 days. She skimmed downward, each bullet sending a jolt through her spine. Reside on premises. No unsupervised contact with outside parties. Restricted movement after 10:00 p.m. Mandatory accompaniment by Callan Hayes for designated appearances. Confidentiality absolute. Her jaw tightened. What is this, a prison contract? It's a protection contract. This looks nothing like protection. Callan didn't argue. Sign it. No. Her voice cracked. Tell me what's happening first. He closed the folder gently, but his eyes hardened. If you don't sign, you die. If you do sign, you stay alive long enough to understand why. Her pulse hammered in her ears. You keep saying I'm in danger. Why? Who are they? What do they want with me? Why? Me? You were there, he said quietly. She blinked. Where? The fire. A sharp pain stabbed behind her eyes. A flash of orange light. Heat smoke gone before she could grasp it. Ivy gripped the table to steady herself. I don't remember a fire. That's the point, Callan murmured. You're not supposed to. She felt the blood drain from her face. What does that even mean? Before he could answer, a thud echoed from upstairs. Ivy startled. What was that? Callan's posture stiffened. Not for you. That's not an answer. She took a step toward the stairs. He intercepted her instantly, fingers closing around her wrist. Not tight, just firm enough to stop her. You're not going up there. Why? Because I said so. She yanked her arm free. That's not good enough. For the first time, something like pain flickered across his features. There are things in this house you're not ready to see. Not yet. Her gaze dropped to the folder again. Is this why you want me to sign this, so you can control what I see? That contract keeps you alive, Ivy. It doesn't control you. It protects you from what's coming. She stared at him, chest heaving. What's coming? He hesitated, long enough to terrify her. Then his phone buzzed again. A new message appeared. His face tightened. Target status unresolved. Proceed to elimination if necessary. He turned the screen away, but Ivy had already seen it. Her stomach lurched. That's about me, she whispered. They want me gone so badly they're willing to kill me. Yes, Callan said, and they won't stop. Her throat constricted. Why, what did I ever do? You survived, he said softly. She didn't understand, couldn't. The air felt thin. Callan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Ivy, the night of the fire you saw something no one else was supposed to see. but I don't remember your memory was taken, buried, forced down, but it's coming back piece by piece. She staggered back. No, no, this isn't real. It is, he said, and the people who caused that fire have spent years trying to erase everyone who knew the truth, including you. Her voice trembled. And you, I'm the only one who doesn't want you dead. Why? Callan's jaw clenched. Because you were there with me. The room tilted. With you were the only other survivor, he said. You and I were children trapped in that house. You got me out. Her heart hammered wildly. I don't remember that. You will. His eyes darkened. And when you do, everything changes. Something in his tone, fear, regret. Something deeper cut through her panic long enough for her to realize she was shaking. Callan reached for the contract again, sliding it toward her. Sign it, Ivy. Let me keep you alive long enough to tell you the rest. She stared at the pen, at the cameras, at Callan, this stranger who felt like someone she should know. Her fingers closed around the pen before she even realized she'd moved. As she wrote her name, a chill swept over her. Because when Callan exhaled, relief flooding his face, she understood something she'd never considered. He hadn't been trying to control her. He'd been terrified she would walk away. And whatever truth he carried, the truth buried in the fire, they were now chained to it together. The house felt different the next morning, too quiet, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Ivy woke with the echo of Elias's voice still ringing in her ears. We'll meet again, little girl. She pushed herself up, her heart thudding so hard it hurt. She didn't know him, not truly yet. Something in her bones recoiled, as if her body remembered what her mind didn't. A soft knock sounded at her door. Before she could answer, Callan stepped inside. He stopped when he saw her trembling. You're awake. What did he mean? Ivy whispered. What did Elias mean when he said we'd met before Callan's jaw tightened? We're not talking about him right now. We need to get you secure. Secure. The word brushed her skin like ice. Callan guided her out of the room, keeping a hand hovering near her elbow without touching her. Downstairs, multiple camera feeds were flickering, red motion alerts triggered while they slept. Someone was close to the perimeter last night, Callan said. Closer than they should have been. Was it him? Ivy asked, her voice small. Callan didn't answer, which was answer enough. He ushered her into a narrow room she hadn't noticed before. A room with its own metal door, thick walls, and stocked supplies. A safe room, or a holding cell. She wasn't sure which. I set this up weeks ago, Callan said, in case I found you before they did. Weeks. The word snagged in her thoughts. You were preparing for me before you even met me. His silence stretched. Ivy took a step back. Why? You're not ready for that answer, he said quietly. The metal door suddenly buzzed. A voice echoed faintly from another part of the house. Callan stiffened. Stay here. She grabbed his arm. Callan, please don't leave me alone. He turned just enough for her to see something raw in his expression. I won't be far. Then he was gone. Ivy pressed her ear to the door, catching fragments of male voices. One was Callan's controlled cold. The other was deeper unfamiliar. Elias wants her. You know this isn't going to end clean. He comes near her again, Callan said, and I finish what he started. Ivy's breath hitched. Finish what he started. What had Elias started? Why did every answer open 10 more questions? A dull buzzing filled her head, the same ache she felt when pieces of memory tried to claw their way back. Flame, smoke, a boy crying, a man in the dark. But the images slipped away before she could hold them. She didn't hear the front door open, but the sudden quiet told her the visitor had gone. Callan returned, tension wired through every line of his body. Who was that? Ivy asked. Someone who should never have found this place. I heard what he said. He knows Elias. Callan exhaled slowly, fighting the urge to shield her from the truth. This isn't just about Elias. There are people tied to him, people who think you didn't die in that fire, and want to correct that. Ivy's blood ran cold. Why do they want me dead instead of answering? Callan motioned for her to follow him into his study. She noticed again how the curtains were always drawn, how the rooms were arranged to trap shadows instead of letting them fall naturally. There was nothing comforting here. On the wall hung a painting, soft colors, blurred strokes, the silhouette of a girl seen from behind. Ivy stepped closer, her throat tightened. The girl looked like her. Before she could reach out, Callan grabbed the edge of the canvas and flipped it to face the wall. "Don't look at that," he said sharply. "Why not? It's not you." "But she looks—" "It's not you," he repeated, pain flickering through his voice. Ivy stared at him, suddenly seeing the tension in his shoulders, the guarded way he stood. "You're afraid of something. Or someone." "I'm afraid of you remembering too much too fast," he said. "Why? What did I see in that fire? What did I see that makes people want me dead?" Callan ran a hand through his hair, something close to despair crossing his features. "The truth is dangerous. It always has been." She stepped closer. "Then tell me." He looked at her the way one looks at a ghost, returning wary, relieved, terrified. "You were there the night everything fell apart. You were the only witness. You saw what Elias did." More pain stabbed behind her eyes, shards of memory tearing at her mind. "I don't remember." "And until you do," Callan said, voice dropping to a whisper, "they won't stop coming." A soft creak echoed above them. Ivy jolted. "What was that?" Callan's eyes darkened. "You are not to go upstairs, ever. Why? It isn't safe." She moved toward the staircase anyway. Callan stepped in front of her, blocking her path. "Don't," he said. "Don't treat me like a prisoner. You're not a prisoner. Then let me go upstairs." "No," he said, sharper than before. Her heart pounded. "What are you hiding up there?" He didn't answer. The silence fractured as his phone buzzed again. A new message. Ivy didn't need to see the screen to know it was bad. Callan read it, jaw clenching. "They're moving fast. Who?" "People who should have died in that fire," he said, voice low. "People with unfinished business." He reached for her hand, not gripping, just holding, as if grounding himself. "You need to understand something. If they get to you, they'll destroy everything, including the truth. Including me." "What truth?" Ivy whispered. Callan met her eyes with a painful honesty she wasn't prepared for. "One day soon," he said, "you'll remember exactly who I was to you, and why I can't lose you. Not again." Her breath caught. Again. The word echoed like a distant scream, and as Callan stepped back, shadows shifting across his face, Ivy realized that the man who had saved her life was also the man hiding the pieces of a story that belonged to both of them, a story that started long before she knew his name. The nightmare hit her before dawn. Ivy jolted upright with a strangled gasp, her chest heaving as if smoke still clawed at her lungs. Flames flickered behind her eyelids, heat licked her skin, and the echo of a child screaming her name clung to her like a second skin. She pressed trembling fingers to her temples, trying to force the images into focus, but they shattered the moment she reached for them. Something dark smeared across her palm. She stared at it. Ash. But there was no fire in this concrete fortress. A sharp knock snapped her back. The door opened before she could answer. Callan stood there breathless, as if he'd sprinted the entire hallway. His eyes widened when he saw her pale face and the ash-stained hand. "You remembered something." Ivy shook her head violently. "Just pieces, just fire, screaming. A boy." Callan inhaled sharply, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "Tell me exactly what you saw." "It doesn't make sense," she whispered. "I don't know what's real. I don't know why it hurts so much." He stepped closer, slow and deliberate, as though she were something fragile he didn't dare touch. "Because your mind buried it for a reason." She winced, clasping her head. "It's coming back whether I want it to or not." Callan exhaled shakily. "Then we need to move, now." Before she could protest, he guided her down the stairs, his hand hovering protectively near her back. Something in his posture was different today, sharper, more urgent. Not anger, fear, not for himself, for her. They left through a side door she hadn't seen before, emerging into a covered garage, lit by dim security lights. A dark sedan waited, tinted and unmarked. Callan opened the passenger door. "Get in," he said. "We're meeting someone who can help." She hesitated. "Help?" "With what? Your memories?" The slightest tremor ran through his voice. "And with staying alive." The drive was silent except for the soft hum of tires on wet pavement. Ivy glanced at him twice, each time finding his eyes fixed on the mirrors, scanning constantly. She'd never seen anyone so controlled, yet so visibly on edge. They finally stopped in front of an inconspicuous brick building squeezed between two closed shops. No signs, no lights. just a door. Callan led her inside. An older man waited in a dimly lit office surrounded by stacks of files and a single flickering lamp. When he looked up, his expression softened with something like recognition. "You brought her," he said. "At last." Ivy stiffened. "Do I know you?" He studied her face with a sorrowful frown. "You knew me as a child, before the fire." The room spun for a moment. Callan stepped protectively between them. "Tell her what you told me." The man nodded. "You are the only living witness to what happened that night, the only one who saw who set the fire." "I don't remember," Ivy whispered. "You're not meant to," the man replied. "Your parents accepted a silence agreement, but silence never stays buried. Especially not when people like Elias want you dead to keep it intact." Ivy shook her head. "You're telling me my family knew that they sold me because they were afraid," the man said gently. "If Elias discovered you were alive, he'd have eliminated everyone connected to that night." The name hit harder now, heavier with meaning. Elias, the man who claimed she'd met him before, the one whose shadow lingered in her nightmares. A memory flickered half-formed, painfully bright, smoke stinging her eyes, a heavy door slamming, a boy sobbing behind her, a man shouting, her small hands pushing. She gasped. Callan moved instantly, gripping her shoulders. "What do you see?" "I don't know," she breathed. "Just pieces, and a lighter, a silver lighter." The older man exchanged a grave look with Callan. He approached his desk, opened a drawer, and placed a burned metal object gently in Ivy's hand. A lighter. For a second the world disappeared. Fire roared in her ears. She felt the heat, heard the boy's cries, saw the man in the smoke, his face distorted, but his eyes sharp and furious. She dropped the lighter with a cry. Callan caught her before she fell. It's okay, Ivy. You're here." "No," she whispered. "I saw him. I saw someone. He was trying to take the boy." Callan's fingers tightened on her arms. "Which boy?" Her lips trembled. "The one I was trying to pull out of the room." A ruptured silence fell between them. The older man nodded sadly. "You saved that boy's life. You dragged him out when the flames rose. He wouldn't be here without you. You're saying—" Ivy looked up at Callan, breathless. "It was you." Callan's eyes closed as if her words cut him deeply. "Yes." She staggered back, overwhelmed. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because if you remembered too fast, the trauma could break you, and because once you remember everything, they'll know." "They," the man answered, voice low. "Everyone who was involved in covering up the fire, including Elias." Ivy shivered. "And the girl, the one he mentioned, the one who died." Silence hovered, heavy and mournful. Finally, Callan spoke. "She wasn't there because of you. She was there because of my family's secrets. Elias locked her in. She didn't make it out." Ivy swallowed, tears burning her eyes. "He blames me, doesn't he?" "He blames everyone but himself," Callan said. "Especially the child who saved me instead of her." Her heart ached at the weight of that truth, heavy and unfair. The office suddenly felt too small, too suffocating with memories she didn't yet fully possess. Callan stepped close, her voice quiet, steady, almost pleading. "Ivy, you didn't kill anyone. You're not responsible for Elias's madness. You were a child who saved another child. You saved me." She stared at him, at the boy she'd pulled from a burning room, grown into a man she barely knew, a man whose entire life had been shaped by that moment, a man who had been searching for her ever since. The revelation struck deep, trembling through her chest. "You're the reason I'm alive," Callan said, "and that's why they want you gone." Ivy exhaled shakily, gripping the edge of the desk for balance. Her memories were no longer fragments. They were the beginning of a truth she would have to face and survive, with Callan standing at her side like a shadow she'd known long before she knew his name. The ride back from the old lawyer's office felt longer than the journey there. Ivy sat curled against the door, her fingers pressed to her forehead, as if she could hold the fragments of memory in place before they slipped away again. The images hadn't returned fully, but the feelings had. Vara smoke, heat, a child's voice calling for her. Behind her eyes, everything flickered like a dying film reel. Callan kept one hand on the wheel, and the other hovering near her knee, not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the pull of his presence. He kept watching her through the mirrors, worry threaded into every glance. "Talk to me," he said softly. What's happening? Ivy shook her head. I don't know. I keep seeing pieces. A door, a staircase, someone grabbing me, a boy I was trying to pull away. Her voice cracked. And Elias. I saw his eyes. Callan's grip tightened, knuckles white. He can't hurt you now. But Ivy wasn't sure. Something inside her whispered that Elias had already hurt her once and that the wound never truly healed. She pressed her palms to her eyes, trying to breathe through the ache pounding in her skull. It feels like my head is splitting open. That's because you're forcing the memories to return too fast, Callan said. Your mind buried them to keep you safe. But why? Ivy looked at him, tears pricking her eyes. What happened in that house, Callan? What really happened? Callan didn't answer until they reached the compound. He parked, turned off the engine, and faced her fully. There was no coldness now, only fear and something deeper, fragile enough to break. Ivy, he said, voice low, you were a child. You saw things no one your age should have seen. You survived something you should not have survived. And his voice faltered. I've spent 12 years trying to protect you from remembering the parts that haunt me every night. Her breath hitched. What parts? He didn't speak, just reached out slowly as if giving her the choice to take his hand or turn away. She took it. Inside, the house felt heavier than before. Its walls holding secrets she could almost hear whispering. Callan guided her to the living room. The moment she stepped inside, her gaze drifted upward. The staircase, the same shape, the same angle, the same shadows. Her pulse spiked. This staircase. It looks like... Don't, Callan whispered. Not yet, but the memory surged anyway. Her hand gripping the railing. A man at the top of the stairs, a little boy crying behind her. Her own voice screaming. Let him go, a push hers or his, she didn't know. Elias falling. Ivy stumbled back, gasping. Callan caught her before she hit the floor. Ivy. I saw it, she choked out. I saw him fall. Callan's breath stilled. Tell me exactly what you saw. I pushed him, she whispered. Or he pulled me. I don't know. It all happened too fast. You protected me, Callan said. He would have taken me back into that room. He would have killed us both if you hadn't done something. She looked up at him terrified. Is that why he wants me dead now, because of the fall? Callan hesitated, then nodded. He almost died that night, and he blames you. He always has. Her chest tightened. Then why didn't you tell me sooner? Because you blamed yourself enough without remembering that. His eyes softened. And because if you remembered everything before we were ready, Elias would know. Her voice trembled. How would he know? Because he watches you, Callan said bitterly. He's been waiting for you to remember. He wants to know how much you saw. Ivy's legs weakened. She sank onto the couch, pressing her hands to her face. I don't understand any of this. Callan knelt in front of her, his hands resting on her knees, grounding her. Then let me help you understand, he said gently. What you saw wasn't just him falling. It was what he did before the fall. Ivy froze. What did he do? Callan looked as though the words physically hurt. He locked her in. Ivy's breath vanished. The girl who died. He nodded. I wasn't supposed to see him, she whispered. No, he said. You weren't. Tears slid down her cheeks. And I did, and you saved me instead. His voice cracked. I owe you my life, Ivy. She shook her head. But I lost yours. His hands tightened around her. You didn't lose her. He did, and he wants to bury the evidence. The realization sank into her like ice. That's why he wants me dead, she whispered. Because I saw him do it. I saw him lock the door. Callan closed his eyes as if that truth cut deeper than any wound. Yes! Ivy leaned into him without thinking, gripping his shirt, her entire body trembling. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her against his chest, holding her like she was the only solid thing left in a collapsing world. You were just a child, he murmured into her hair. A brave, terrified child who saved me, and I've never stopped trying to save you back. She buried her face against him, feeling memories she didn't yet fully own, flicker beneath her skin. I don't want to be afraid anymore, she whispered. You won't be. His voice was a vow. Not while I'm breathing. Ivy didn't know what the next memory would reveal. She didn't know what Elias had planned. But as long as Callan held her like this with desperation, guilt, and an unspoken tenderness that had lived inside him since the fire, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years: strength, and the terrifying truth that she wasn't just remembering him, she was remembering what he meant to her. The morning after her memories clawed their way back felt strangely hollow. Ivy moved quietly through the house, avoiding the places where shadows pooled. Callan hadn't slept. She could tell from the exhaustion etched beneath his eyes, the stiffness in his shoulders, the way he flinched at every distant sound. He watched her without watching her, standing in doorways, following her steps, never letting her out of reach. She didn't know whether to feel protected or trapped. When she rounded the corner into the kitchen, she froze. Callan was seated at the table, head bowed, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. He didn't notice her until she stepped closer. "You stayed outside my door all night," she murmured. He didn't deny it. "You were shaking in your sleep. You can't keep doing that." His eyes lifted to hers, dark, intense, tired. "I can't lose you again." The word again sent a tremor down her spine. Every time he said it, she felt her chest tighten with something she couldn't yet name. She broke eye contact first. "Callan, I need space." "I know." He rose slowly as if the floor might give way beneath him. "But I don't know how to give it and keep you alive at the same time." Before she could respond, the front door chimed sharp, unexpected. Callan stiffened instantly, placing himself in front of her, blocking her from view. He pressed a button on the wall. The camera feed flickered on. A woman stood outside, dressed in a fitted black blazer and heels sharp enough to be weapons. Her smile was poised, polished, and unmistakably cold. "Mirren." Callan muttered a curse under his breath. Of all days. He opened the door only a fraction. "What do you want?" Mirren's smile widened a fraction. "To see the woman who's made you unravel." Ivy stiffened. Mirren's eyes found her, immediately sliding past Callan, as though he weren't even there. "So, you're Ivy," she said smoothly. "You look like her." Callan's expression darkened. "Mirren, she deserves to know." Mirren replied, her tone dripping with disdain. "She deserves to know that you couldn't save the last girl either." Ivy felt the words like a slap. "What last girl?" Mirren tilted her head in mock sympathy. "He didn't tell you Callan always tries to protect people from the truth. That's why he fails them." Callan stepped fully into the doorway, blocking Mirren's view. "Leave. You're making the same mistake," Mirren hissed. "History doesn't repeat itself. Callan, it escalates." Ivy couldn't hear anything after that. Her heart pounded too loudly. The last girl, a mistake, couldn't save. Mirren's heels clicked sharply as she disappeared down the walkway. The door shut and silence returned, but it was a different kind of silence. Heavy, tense, accusatory. Ivy turned away first. Callan followed her into the living room. "Don't listen to her." "Is it true?" she whispered. "Was there someone before me?" Callan froze. "She's twisting the truth. That's not an answer." He sank onto the edge of the couch, looking as if the weight of years pressed down on him. There was someone else in the house that night. A girl. But she wasn't what Mirren implied. She wasn't you, and you couldn't save her. His silence was confirmation enough. Ivy inhaled shakily. "Am I just a replacement to you?" Callan's head snapped up. "No. God, Ivy, no. Then what am I?" "You're the one I never stopped looking for." His voice cracked. "You're the one I lost and never forgave myself for losing." Her throat tightened. She didn't know what to do with the contradiction fear of him and the sensation that he had always been woven into her life. Before she could respond, the lights flickered. Callan surged to his feet. "Stay behind me." A sharp buzz hit her phone. Ivy looked down. A message from an unknown number. "Do you remember me yet?" Her blood ran cold. Another message followed instantly. "He'll never tell you what he did, but I will." "Callan." Her voice was barely audible. "It's him." He grabbed the phone, read the messages, and cursed under his breath. "He's escalating." The darkness flickered again, the lights stuttering like a failing heartbeat. A hum vibrated through the walls. Someone had tampered with the power. Callan grabbed her shoulders. "We need to get downstairs, now." But Ivy pulled back. "No, no more running. Tell me the truth, all of it." Why would Elias say you caused the fire pain slash through the Callan's expression, sharp, raw? Because Elias lies. Is he lying? He hesitated. It was small, barely a second, but it was enough. I knew it, she whispered, stepping away from him as the lights flickered again. There's something you're not telling me, something worse than I imagined. Ivy listened to me, no. Her voice was shaking but steady. You say you want to protect me, but all you do is hide me from things I already lived through. Stop choosing what I can handle. Callan took a breath that shuddered. If I tell you everything, you'll hate me. I'm already scared of you. That hurt him. She saw it in his shoulders, the way they slumped as though taking a blow. The lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. Ivy's heart pounded. Callan's hand found hers in the dark, a desperate, instinctive grasp. Ivy, he whispered, voice breaking. I'm not afraid of Elias. I'm afraid of losing you, and I'm afraid of what happens when you remember what really happened between us. Her breath caught. Between us, she whispered. But before he could answer, a sharp crash shattered the silence from upstairs. Both of them froze, because neither of them had been upstairs, and someone else was. The crash upstairs echoed through the dark like a gunshot, jolting Ivy's heart into her throat. Callan tightened his hold on her hand, pulling her close as he turned toward the staircase. The power was still out, no lights, no hum of electronics, only the sound of rain hammering against the windows and the faintest shift of footsteps above them. I need you behind me, Callan murmured, barely audible. I'm not letting you go up there alone, Ivy whispered back. Another crash, louder, closer. Callan cursed under his breath and pushed her gently behind a support beam. Stay here. If anything happens, don't run toward me. Run out the back door and don't look back. I'm not leaving you, she said. He touched her cheek in the dark, the gesture fleeting, but filled with something deep and aching. I can't lose you again. Then he moved toward the stairs. Ivy's pulse hammered as she watched his silhouette ascend each step. The darkness swallowed him halfway up, leaving only the faint outline of his body and the creak of wood beneath his weight. A voice drifted down from the shadows. Well, well, little brother. Ivy froze. Elias. Her blood went cold. Callan's voice turned razor sharp. Get out of this house. Oh, come now, Elias drawled. I've barely said hello, and I've come all this way just to meet her properly. Ivy instinctively stepped back at her shoulder hitting the wall. Elias continued. It's rude to hide her downstairs, Callan. She's grown up beautifully, almost exactly like I remember. Callan lunged forward, but a sickening thud followed a struggle, bodies colliding. Ivy's breath caught. She couldn't stay hidden, not while Callan fought alone. She forced her shaking legs toward the stairs. At the top, a surge of lightning illuminated the hallway for one brief, horrifying second, just long enough to see Elias with his hand around Callan's throat. Callan pinned against the wall, fighting to breathe. Ivy gasped, and Elias turned toward her, eyes gleaming with recognition. There she is. Callan struggled to speak. Ivy, run. But Elias released him and stepped toward her with a slow, calculated smile. Do you remember me now? Her heart pounded. Images flashed, smoke fire. Elias's hand grabbing her arm, all those years ago, the boy behind her screaming. I remember. Pieces, she whispered. Elias grinned. Good, because your memory is the key. You are the loose thread none of us could afford. Callan moved to stand between them, breath ragged. You're not touching her. Touching Elias tilted his head. You make it sound so sinister. After all, Ivy and I have history. I was a child, Ivy spat, and yet, his smile twisted. You ruined everything. Callan lunged again this time, knocking Elias backward. The men crashed to the floor, grappling. Ivy scrambled back as Elias slammed Callan into the railing. You should have died in that fire, Elias snarled. Both of you. Funny, Callan growled, pinning his brother's arm. I was thinking the same thing about you. The struggle tipped dangerously close to the edge. Ivy grabbed the nearest object, a heavy vase, and hurled it. It shattered against the wall inches from Elias's head. Elias twisted toward her, eyes blazing. Just like the last time, little girl. Always interfering. The memory slammed into her so hard she staggered. Not a staircase, a burning hallway. Callan screaming for help, Elias dragging him away. Ivy pushing Elias with all her tiny strength. Elias falling, the flames swallowing everything. She gasped, clutching her chest. Elias stood, slowly brushing dust from his sleeve. Ah, there it is, the truth. Callan reached Ivy, pulling her behind him. She was trying to save me. Oh, she did, Elias sneered. She saved you and doomed the other one. Ivy shook her head. I didn't doom anyone. Elias laughed. You still don't know, do you? Callan hasn't told you about her. About the girl who died because of you. Stop, Callan growled. Because of her, Elias repeated deliberately. If you'd helped the right one, Callan wouldn't have lost her. Ivy felt the world tilt. The right one, Elias leaned close enough that she felt his breath. The girl upstairs. Callan shoved him back so hard he hit the wall. Enough, Elias. But Elias wasn't finished. Tell her the truth. Tell her who she looks like. Tell her why you dragged her into the same nightmare. Because she wasn't the first girl you tried to save, Callan, and she won't be the last. Callan's face crumpled, not with guilt, but with anguish. Ivy, he said, voice raw, don't listen to him. Why not? Elias taunted. You listened once and look where it got you. The storm outside howled, rattling the windows. Elias took one slow step toward Ivy. You aren't special, little girl. You're just another ghost he's trying to resurrect. And that was when Ivy snapped, not with fear, but realization. No, she whispered. I'm not her, and I'm not you, and I'm done being afraid of your twisted version of what happened. Elias blinked, surprise. Ivy stepped forward. You want to blame a child for what you caused, for the fire you started, for the girl you locked in. Finally, someone said it aloud. Callan's eyes closed. Elias's jaw clenched. You killed her, Ivy said, voice steady now. Not me, not Callan, you. Lightning flashed across Elias's face, twisted with rage. He lunged, but Callan was faster. He tackled Elias to the floor as security lights finally flickered back on. In seconds, distant sirens wailed. Someone had tripped an emergency alarm. Elias hissed, This isn't over. But it was, because Ivy wasn't the terrified child he remembered, and Callan wasn't the broken boy he once tried to drag into the flames. Together they stood against him, and for the first time Elias realized he had already lost the one thing he'd been trying to destroy, the bond between them. Ivy ran long before she realized her legs were moving, the echo of Elias's last threat still burning in her ears. Rain crashed against her skin as she burst through the door and down the steps, stumbling into the empty street. The storm blurred everything, lights, sound, breath. All she could think was, I caused this, I caused all of this. Her dress clung to her soaked through, the cold was sharp enough to sting, but she barely felt it. Guilt weighed heavier than the rain. Elias's words played on repeat, poisoning every thought. You doomed her. You were the reason she died. She didn't hear the footsteps behind her at first, not until someone called her name. Ivy. She froze. Callan's silhouette appeared through the sheets of rain chest, heaving hair plastered to his forehead. He stopped a few feet away while daring to touch her. I'm not here to drag you back, he said softly, breath catching. I'm here because you deserve the truth, every part of it. Her voice cracked. He said, because of me. No. Callan stepped closer slowly, as if approaching something fragile. Ivy, look at me. She did. Lightning lit his face, wet, desperate, but honest in a way that made her heart ache. You didn't doom anyone, he said. You were a child who saved another child. You saved me, but the girl. She died because Elias locked the door, not because you pushed him, not because you didn't save her, because he made that choice. Ivy shook her head, tears cutting hot paths through the rain. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why let me believe the worst? Because I needed to protect you, he said, voice breaking. And because I was afraid that if you remembered everything, you'd never look at me again. What could you have possibly done? She whispered. Callan swallowed hard. It took him a moment to speak. I should have saved her too. I was closest. I was old enough to open the damn door. But I froze. I was so terrified I couldn't move. You were the one who pulled me out. Suddenly, the weight in her chest shifted, still heavy but no longer crushing. Callan stepped closer. I've carried that guilt for 12 years, and I thought if I kept you alive, if I kept the past buried, it would somehow make up for it. It wasn't your fault, Ivy whispered. She wiped her eyes with shaking fingers. And it wasn't mine. Callan's breath trembled. No, it never was. Behind them, sirens wailed in the distance, closer now. Elias wouldn't escape this time. Not with the evidence Callan had given the authorities. Not with the witnesses, not with the truth she now held inside her. Ivy finally exhaled. The storm didn't feel so loud anymore. Callan reached out slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When she didn't, his fingers slid gently around her wrist, warm despite the cold. "You get to choose now," he murmured. "Your life, your future. Whether you want me in it or not. No contracts, no more fear, just you." Ivy felt herself breathe for the first time all night. "I don't want to run anymore," she said. "Not from the truth, not from you. And I don't want to lose you," he whispered. She stepped into him, then letting the space between them disappear. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close, grounding her. She rested her cheek against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady, real alive. There was no fire now, no smoke, no screaming, just rain, two survivors, and the quiet beginning of something new. Callan lowered his forehead to hers. "Whatever happens next," he said, "you won't face it alone." "I know," Ivy whispered, and for the first time she truly did. His lips brushed hers, soft, hesitant, not claiming, just asking. She answered. The storm raged on, but inside that fragile moment, both of them finally stepped out of the burning house they'd been trapped in for years, together. If you felt something in their journey, whether the fear, the healing, or the hope, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us for more emotional journeys just like this one. Thank you for being here.